The observation deck of the celestial nursery was never meant to hold humans. Its gravity generators hummed at 0.6 g. Its atmospheric processors cycled air rich in ammonia traces, and its furniture, if the cushioned platforms could be called, that was designed for beings half Juno Hale's size. Yet here she sat, cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by a dozen Velkan cubs whose fur rippled with bioluminescent curiosity. And then, Juno said, her voice dropping to a theatrical whisper, the ancient Earth hero lifted the great stone and threw it across the mountains. The cubs chittered in their high-pitched language, their ear tufts quivering with excitement. Resh, the smallest of the group, pressed closer to Juno's knee, his silver-striped fur standing on end. Impossible, Resh squeaked in, halting Galactic Standard. Stone too heavy. Mountains too far, Juno grinned. That's what makes it a legend, little one. She shifted her weight, and that's when she felt it, the warm trickle down her forearm. The jagged edge of the broken railing she'd brushed against 20 minutes ago had done more damage than she'd thought. Through her sleeve, she could feel the blood seeping, sticky and insistent. Don't react, she told herself. They'll panic. The Velkans were a species that had eliminated physical injury from their society 3 centuries ago. Their medical technology was so advanced that the cubs before her had never seen blood, not even their own. To them, the concept of a wound was purely academic, something from ancient history texts. Juno casually adjusted her position, tucking her injured arm beneath her other hand. The sleeve was dark blue. Thank the stars. It wouldn't show. Not yet. Tell more story, another cub demanded, bouncing on her haunches. All right, Juno said, forcing her voice to remain steady even as she felt the blood pooling in her palm. Let me tell you about the time humans went to their moon with nothing but metal and mathematics. She was 3 sentences in when Resh's nose twitched. His large, opalescent eyes went wide. His fur flashed from silver to alarmed crimson in an instant. Juno friend, he whispered, his voice trembling. What is that smell? Damn, the other cubs were catching on now. Their sensitive noses, evolved to detect the faintest chemical changes in their environment, had picked up the iron-rich scent of human blood. One by one, their bioluminescence shifted to distressed oranges and reds. It's nothing, Juno said quickly. But Resh was already scrambling onto her lap, his tiny 3-fingered hands reaching for her concealed arm. You are damaged, he shrilled. You are leaking. The Medbots, where are the Medbots? Resh, I'm fine. Fine. The cub's voice cracked with panic. You are bleeding. This is catastrophic. This is... He turned to the others, his fur now strobing with distress signals. Alert! Alert! The human is dying. The room erupted into chaos. Cubs scattered in every direction, their emergency whistles piercing the air. 2 of them slammed their paws on the wall-mounted emergency panels. Another began wailing in a frequency that made Juno's teeth ache. Resh refused to leave her lap, his small body trembling as he pressed his paws against her sleeve as if he could somehow hold her together through sheer force of will. Kids, please, Juno tried, but her voice was drowned out by the cacophony. The door hissed open. 3 Medbots glided in, their scanner arrays already active, followed closely by Velkan caretaker Miras, whose fur was bristling with alarm. What is the emergency? Miras's translator device crackled. Then her nose caught the scent, and her eyes locked onto Juno's arm. Oh, blessed stars. The human is compromised. I'm really not, Juno began, but a Medbot was already extending a gentle manipulator toward her arm. She sighed and relented, revealing the gash. It was about 4 inches long, bleeding steadily but not dangerously. She'd had worse from kitchen accidents. The room went silent. Every cub stared at the wound with horrified fascination. Resh made a small, wounded sound in the back of his throat. Juno friend, he whispered. Does it hurt? She looked down at the little Velkan in her lap, at his enormous eyes brimming with distress, and felt her heart squeeze. These children had never known pain. They lived in a society where suffering was obsolete, where injury was instantly corrected, where the very concept of enduring discomfort was alien. And here she was, a human, bleeding on their nice, clean floor. A little, she admitted softly. But Resh, listen, humans are built different. This, she nodded at the cut. This will heal. My body will fix it on its own, even without medbots. It'll take longer, but I'll be fine. Your body repairs itself? Another cub asked, creeping closer with cautious awe. Without technology? We're kind of stubborn that way, Juno said with a wry smile. The medbot had already sealed the wound with a polymer membrane, stopping the bleeding instantly. It chirped a series of diagnostic tones that Miras translated: minor laceration, no systemic damage, human subject stable. See? Juno said gently to Resh. Not dying, but the little Velkin wasn't comforted. His paws were still pressed to her arm, his fur cycling through worried purples. You did not call for help, he said, his voice small. Why did you not call for help? Juno met his eyes. How could she explain? That she hadn't wanted to worry them? That a cut this minor didn't even register as an emergency in her mind? That humans carried on through discomfort so routinely they barely noticed it? Because, she said finally, I didn't want to interrupt story time. Resh's fur flashed through a rapid sequence of colors, confusion, realization, and finally, a deep, glowing gold that Juno had learned meant profound affection. Humans are very strange, Resh declared. The strangest, Juno agreed. And very brave, he added quietly, burrowing against her uninjured arm. Around the room, the other cubs were settling down, their panic subsiding now that the medbots had declared Juno non-critical. But they looked at her differently now, with a mixture of concern and something that might have been respect. Miras approached carefully. Ambassador Hale, I must file an incident report. You should have disclosed the injury immediately. I know, Juno said. I'm sorry, I didn't think. You prioritized the emotional well-being of the cubs over your own physical safety. Miras interrupted. Her fur rippled with a complex pattern Juno couldn't quite read. That is very human of you. It didn't sound like a criticism. So, Juno said, addressing the cubs who had cautiously gathered around her again. Who wants to hear about the time humans patched a spacecraft with duct tape and willpower? Resh's ears perked up. What is duct tape? Juno smiled. Oh, little one. Sit down. This is going to take a while. And as she continued, her stories carefully monitored by 3 hovering medbots and 1 very attentive caretaker, Juno Hale, taught the cubs of the celestial nursery their most important lesson yet. Humans bleed, humans hurt, humans endure, and somehow, impossibly, they keep telling stories anyway.